Thank you so much for coming out. Give yourselves a big round of applause. For those of you who don't know, my name is Joyce Littell. It's such a pleasure being here.
The history of Passion and Poetry, it actually started for 19 years here in Atlanta. I was the host of the #1 evening show called The Quiet Storm on V103. And one of the things that was very important to me, as well as the program manager of the station, was always keeping yourself in front of your audience and always coming up with ideas and ways in which you can entertain your audience. And because I was host of The Quiet Storm, which is an evening show and everybody is in a relaxed, romantic love mood, I wanted to do something that was centered around what the show is each and every day. And then I knew Valentine's was coming up. So I came up with this idea of putting on this show, Passion and Poetry, and how it turned into Passion and Poetry. Every Thursday night on The Quiet Storm, I hosted a feature on the show called Poetic Moments Live. That is where poets came in and actually did spoken word on air every Thursday night. We had local poets, we had poets that had traveled all over the country who heard about the show and how popular it was, and they would want to come on the show. So being the type of person that I am, always trying to be a visionary and knowing what was expected of me as a premier personality at this station, I came up with Passion and Poetry because Valentine's was coming up. I needed something to do to put me in front of my listeners, in front of my audience. And I created it, and it became a hit. I've done it now for 23. I've had 23 shows, and I'm going into my 24th show. The process of planning Passion and Poetry is, at this point, a pretty easy process because I've done it so many times, and the people that have worked with me on this show are still some of the same people. So their roles and responsibilities haven't changed. They know what to do, they know how to do it, and they know when to do it. The day of the show is not as hectic as it is time-consuming. We have load-in time, which is early in the morning. We have the Marty Williams, who comes to decorate the stage. Then the band, load-in time, they have a specific time in which they come and do their load-in. Once they do their load-in and all of their instruments and all of that stuff is tweaked from the sound guy from center stage, then we do sound check. Rhonda Thomas's sound check is first, and then Frank Lapone's sound check is second, and then we have the dancers that are coming in to do their, it's not sound check, but do their rehearsal time. Then we have a meet time in which all talent, all staff, all participants of the production, we all come together and we do a prayer. We do a let's get it started type of chant going on, and then we're ready for the show.
We promote, we welcome, we encourage love, relations, and passion. It's cool. Absolutely nothing. Who was you trusting? Who was you loving?
Joyce Littell saw me perform the poem that I recited called No More Flies and said immediately, I want you in Passion and Poetry. So I'd heard about the show for the last 3 or 4 years. They tell me it's the biggest show in the country, and I had to be here, I had to be here, I had to be here.
Well, sometimes feel like an hour because I get lost in an apricot watermelon smell.
Straight down my spine when you run across my mind. Across my mind. Across my mind. Live low to bring new life in me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I always knew the clouds would part, the fog would burn the haze within, the rain would cease.
this is not a cheap show. It's an expensive show because I go for top talent. I go for top poets in the country, not just locally here in Atlanta, but I am bringing in poets out of Denver, Colorado. I'm bringing in poets out of Charlotte, North Carolina, out of Florida, various places all over the country. I bring these poets in, people who have made this a profession of theirs. So it's not an open mic set. You have to know what you're doing when you set on the stage of Passion and Poetry. Same goes for the musical talent. We have national acts.
Somebody like Joyce Littell to come along and say, hey, I'm gonna reach out, look out for you. That speaks volumes because Passion and Poetry is not a small thing. I mean, as you can see according to the crowd, people know about it.
Can barely wade in the sea while I know how to part that sea with staff. Take you back to promised land. And
that's gonna be the way that he remembers me for life. Remind him of all the reasons he chose me to be the wife.
Experience the love and the passion and the romance and the fun behind it. Experience the openness. Experience the moment to feel a part of you that you might not have been given permission to feel. And that's what we present on stage. I hear about it. I read about it because people hit me up on Facebook, people hit me up on my email, people call me on the phone and said, you know, my husband and I or my girlfriend and I hadn't experienced that kind of magic between each other until we came there. And so that's what drives me to make sure that Passion and Poetry happens every year.
Helping us make the candy shop what it is. You all have a great night.